It's Chris Long. You're listening to Missin Curfew.
Welcome back to a fresh episode of Missin Curfew, Up Dog Mondays, fella.
My big boy.
How we doing, fella?
Good. NFL playoffs, week 1.
Oh, it's great, right? It's great. This time of year, I mean, listen, I've took it on the chin throughout football. I laid off it through the course of the season, but come playoff time, I don't know. I feel like, you can get a feel for who's getting hot, who's not. So great time of year to be an NFL fan. We thought if we're going to talk some NFL football, who better to bring in than our boy from Bonnaroo, Longer.
Super Bowl champ, 2-time Super Bowl champ, wearing the jacket heard around the world. Dog face himself.
Man, that was sick when he was on that float bus or whatever with that sick
legend.
What
By
kind
the
of
way,
jacket
winning
was it?
in Philadelphia would be all time. I know you didn't. I played there. If you are an athlete that they like and you win a championship there, it's fucking turn the lights out.
Oh, I can imagine.
You're a legend forever.
Same as if you ever won one in Toronto. Like, we've talked a couple weeks about our boy Factor. If you ever won one in Toronto, you would be a legend, same as long as a legend in Philly.
Yeah. And just back on the sports, hopefully by this time you've built up a little liquid in your DraftKings account, because come playoff time in football, you're like, you really start to bet on your teams and you like them. You maybe bump that.
Bet with your heart.
Yeah. You bump it up a little more.
Yeah, no, playoff football is the best. So Chris Long coming at you, fella. Welcome back to Missin Curfew. Up dog, my man. NFL playoffs coming at you here. Best time of the year for NFL sports fans. And we thought, who better to bring back than our Bonnaroo brother, the legend, Chris Long. So Longer, thank you for joining us, buddy. You're looking nice and cozy, looking National League, as we say.
I am cozy, and I was just talking to you guys before we popped on. Very fittingly, the Bonnaroo lineup dropped this morning, and here we are on Zoom. And here I am trying to get you guys to come back to Nashville one more time. I think we got to do one more, guys.
I just signed up for the early access, bud. I just bought us 3 VIP tickets.
Hey,
We're back.
Is My Morning Jacket on that list? Because if My Morning Jacket's playing, I'm in.
Jacket, Tyler Childers. I got a whole thing written down. I got Jacket, Tyler Childers, Kendrick Lamar, Wolfpack, Portugal the Man, 3-6 Mafia, Fleet Foxes, the Pixies, Revolution. There's a bunch of great.
Odessa,
Finally,
My Morning Jacket into Odessa. I'm in, Longer.
I'm going. I've already.
We're going.
Tickets. Look at it. It says what, $999 each. I don't care.
That's right. Choose the NHL Stanley
Send
Cup
me that
finals.
link.
We'll
Hey,
go Bonnaroo to the finals.
Do you think DraftKings can set up a thing at Bonnaroo for us? I think this is finally a lineup that brings me back to like when we were going.
Old people, man. There was like a 3-4 year window there recently where it was just a bunch of teenagers, and I was like, hey, nothing against the kids having fun, but I got to have mine. And Bonnaroo is back to serving, 40-year-old dudes.
Longer's like, listen, I'm dusting off the corduroys, the overalls here, baby. Let's go.
Let's go, man. Hey,
I just
Upper, send me that link
Saturday
after
night
the show.
Longer.
Send me the link after the show, because I'm going to do the same thing.
I just remember the Saturday night, right? Longer with the overalls on, tatted up. Usually I have a face mask on some nights, and I'm just like, look at this beauty. Look at this beauty.
I mean, what cruise we had though, right?
We had some good cruise.
We had our whole crew coming back and forth, 5 guys every year.
Yeah.
O'Reilly.
I met Ryan O'Reilly before he became a legend.
In St. Louis, you did.
Yeah.
I remember Fat Daddy's first Bonnaroo. He came in like he looked like he should have been playing in the festival longer. Like he had the jean shorts,
Yes.
the flower shirt, and the hat, but he didn't bring the underwear though. He didn't bring the gitch. Like day one, he had the old chafe going. I'm like,
not enough monkey
he
butt.
didn't have enough. I'm like,
He
here,
looked
take
like a
some
singer-songwriter.
Have you seen the Pixies before?
No, but I really like the Pixies.
That's a nice band.
Yeah.
And then Bob Moses, Obi.
Oh my
I
god!
mean, that's tickling everything.
Oh my god!
There we go.
Longer break. We need an IV on site though, boys.
We got
I'm gonna need an IV every
It
morning.
can be arranged.
Yeah, we got to hit up our boy Dan Berkowitz and Jason Weinstock.
I just texted Jason.
Did you? You say this is? He actually called me this week because he's like, "Are you in Aspen all the time? I only come skiing with you." But I think we got to pull on, use Weinstock a little bit again here.
We'll get on him.
Yeah, let's do it.
Weinstock's the best when he used to come to the bus late night. He'd be like, "What's going on back here, boys? What are you guys doing back here?"
Just a bunch of trouble.
Yeah, you don't want any part of this.
Hey, Weinstock, just keep moving, buddy. We'll see you tomorrow. You want no part of this, brother. All Longer, that lineup's got me intrigued, brother. So we do have to talk about that. But thank you for taking the time, buddy. Obviously a big fan of you and your podcast, what you're doing now. And when I think football, I think Longer. You got your 2 Super Bowls behind you. First and foremost, I'm sure you talked about it a lot, but Damar Hamlin, man, me and Updog, we were in Aspen watching it when it happened. As ex-athletes, we didn't know what to feel. So just talk about that as an ex-football player and just how the country's rallied around it.
Yeah, no question. This was wild, man. Monday night, when I went to sleep, I wasn't sure that he was going to make it. It was, it felt like that. I mean, we've seen, and you guys playing a contact sport that's a high collision sport, we've seen plenty of guys stretch it off. We've seen guys on backboards immobilized, the whole thing, but to see somebody receiving CPR on a field is a whole nother level of just uncertainty and angst and, quite frankly, terror. These guys were terrified, sitting there watching it and seeing guys' reactions and the way they were crying. How many times on live TV does somebody's life hang in the balance? So from the players to the fans to the people on TV that were tasked with commentating this moment, I think no one had a blueprint. And that was a really scary feeling for everybody because, even since I retired, I've seen my own friends stretch it off. And maybe it's a bit of being desensitized, but usually I'm like, he's going to be okay. We've seen that. I've seen guys leave on a stretcher and 5 minutes later we're playing, full speed. So I think it's a complicated kind of processing deal for athletes because we've seen this sort of thing. But I think in this moment, we were for once on the same page as the fans, because no one knew what to expect. And so I think this was a really tough week, but it was also an encouraging week because, as the week went on, there was good news. Damar Hamlin, his charity received a bunch of money. There were people that were sending a lot of love to this kid. And we also got to learn a lot about the type of guy he is.
Yeah.
And that it's unfortunate it took something like this. But again, what it reinforces is, we don't need to wait for something like this to happen to really celebrate the athletes that we have on the ice, on the field. There's some amazing young men and women who play sports where there are inherent risks. And this is a risk that exists in other sports as well. This wasn't a football injury necessarily. I mean, we've never seen this injury, it seems, happen on a football field. The way it's described to me, it had to happen in such an inopportune fashion for this to go down. I mean, he had to get hit at the exact wrong time with the exact right amount of force and the whole thing. And so I don't think this really mars football, but for a lot of people, it's just another scene on a football field where everybody's scared shitless. And I think that's a hard thing. So, but I was so happy to see him come out of it. All I could hope was he was going to wake up and get to see all the love that was sent in his direction and the effort and the whole thing. And I remember Chris Pronger, the thing with Chris Pronger, who I got to know in St. Louis. He was hit by a slap shot, right? And same thing happened to him. He went into cardiac arrest on the ice. I think he played another 12 years, Hall of Fame career. I think when it comes to Damar Hamlin, football is very secondary to his quality of life. And when you think about CPR for 9-10 minutes, you wonder if he's going to be neurologically intact. Then you hear they're working on his lungs and there's all these quality of life concerns, but to see him come out of it, I'm just very happy that he's okay.
Yeah. I think I mentioned this before, but it becomes reality. And as an athlete longer and in a team sport, the worst thing that could ever happen is you playing this game and one of your teammates going down and you leaving after the game, which is a normal thing. You guys, we ice up our bodies, we have a beer together, we eat some pizza, we go to the plane. If you're not with one of your mates or one of your guys you just went to battle with and he's back and worried about his life, usually it's the guy's, banged up his knee, he's got to stay overnight maybe. But when it becomes something of a life-threatening issue, it becomes reality and a very unfortunate one. And seeing the teams, to me, when Josh Allen and
Joe Burrow,
when they came together, when the coaches came together, to me, that's when everything becomes life to me.
It got real,
it got real
fast.
It got real quick.
Yeah. As a fan, we were just blown away that we couldn't believe what was going on. And then just the trainers, we talk about trainers a lot in our industry longer, that how much they've been great to us medically and the equipment trainers, but the trainers, the job they did, this guy in Buffalo, man, it was unbelievable. Like, what a job.
Incredible. I mean, just the wherewithal to do the right things in that moment. The NFL having, certain things on the field, like they have defibrillators and all that stuff, and they have the personnel and everything. And, I was reading the commentary of a doctor that I follow on Twitter, and he was like, listen, like, if this was going to happen, this is the best place that it possibly could have happened. An NFL football field. I mean, if you think about even the other sports that this could happen in, it's not as likely that you have what you need right when you need it to accomplish the desired outcome that they got, which was keep this dude alive, stabilize his breathing, and get him to a hospital in a timely fashion. And, terrifying process, but I'm so thankful we have people like that in our league.
Yeah, it sounds like he's doing great right now.
Yeah, he's back in Buffalo.
He's breathing on his.
Yeah, it's amazing. Great. And longer for me, like, we're Canadian guys, but we live here now. We got our green cards. We love this country. It's been great to us. And there's been so much bullshit that we don't have to get into. But wasn't it nice that your game brought a nation together? It didn't matter what color you were, what race, where you're from, what you do. People started praying and people started caring about human beings again. And for me, I was like, it sucks longer that I took that. But, man, it was nice to see the nation rally around together.
Yeah. I think it also says something about, like, man, people's lives are in the balance every day, all over the place for a host of reasons. And, it just – there's something about watching it transpire on live TV and it being athletics and, there being sports fans involved. I mean, if we could just show that same amount of empathy and compassion for each other on a regular basis, we'd be in a lot better place, kind of what you're alluding to there. And unfortunately, though, you know how this thing goes. Like, people forget. People forget the time and the place. But for a week there, I think everybody was on the same page. Like, I was waking up, checking my phone, like, in the middle of the night. I was like, kind of having a dream, that, like, hey, that I heard some news, and I wake up and check my phone just to make sure that wasn't the case, or vice versa. It could have been good news. It could have been bad news. But this was just on my brain. And, I think your commentary is correct. Is we were also caring about an individual. If we could just do that for each other on a regular basis, we'd be a lot better off.
Yeah, well said, my man. So to Damar Hamlin, keep going, buddy. It's unbelievable. Yeah. Longer, let's talk. There's this time of year, the boys, they want those 2 trophies you got behind you there. And actually, I kind of want to steal one too, but I'm not going to because I love you. But
you got to come visit to steal one.
Yeah, that's true, brother. Let's talk AFC. I'm a big AFC guy. I think it's their year. Let's stick with the Bills. I put my cheddar on DraftKings at the start of the year on Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Updog's been on the Bills for a while. What do you think about them heading in there? Josh Allen is unbelievable. He sometimes thinks he's Superman, where I'm like, fella, calm down a bit. You don't have to throw that there. But what's your feeling on the Bills?
Love the Bills. They were my Super Bowl pick before the season. I think I went 31-27 Bills over the Niners. And, the Niners have proved to be every bit of the team that we wondered if they could be. And like, they've just come on so strong late in the season. But the Bills, I don't think they're the best team in the AFC right now. But what they have is a total X factor at quarterback and a really solid defense. They didn't have their best day defensively on Sunday. I know that was a wild week. Didn't even have their best day offensively. They got a big lift from Nyheim Hines, who they brought over during the season with 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns, ironically against a team that really prides themselves on playing good special teams and the whole 9 yards. So that was a big boost. They got a boost from John Brown in the passing game. Another guy they brought in, one of the biggest games of their season. They're getting, a boost from Hines and Brown, and you just don't expect that. So that was good to see. I love Josh Allen. I think the offense has changed a little bit in a year from Dable to Ken Dorsey, but they still are just as scary. The run game has improved. However, outside of Diggs, they've got some nice pieces in Davis and Knox and that sort of thing. They're kind of, I don't want to say average outside of Diggs and Allen offensively, but there's just so much that's dependent upon Josh Allen putting the team on his back, whether it's in the run game, QB design runs, scrambles, and when you take Diggs away, I worry a little bit about it. So a lot of it's gonna come down to the defenses they play. And Cincinnati is a really tough matchup to zoom out for a second. That Monday night game, Cincy had the ball up 7-3 in their drive, and I had picked Cincy that game. And I do think Cincy is the best team in the AFC right now. They're just very complete. They have a secondary that can get downhill and play in the run game. They're ball aware. You see these guys taking footballs off people all season. They have 2 good edge rushers. They have interior linemen. They're built from the inside out. Their defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo is going to be a head coach someday. And obviously you've got Joe Burrow, who just has always reminded me of Tom Brady in that he's really good in the pocket from a mobility standpoint. I think he's more athletic than Tom Brady ever was. But what he does do is he moves really precisely and accurately in the pocket, which is kind of an art form. You've got to keep your eyes downfield, but be able to navigate a lot of times a pretty sticky pocket. And that was the scenario for them, especially early in the year, because the offensive line, and they made a lot of investments in the O-line, was kind of sucking. But those guys came together, and they were a real strong point for them in December, and the defenses played better. And when you've got Higgins and Jamar Chase who do really different things, you bring in Hayden Hurst. You worry about the right tackle situation because La'el Collins got hurt. But I think this is the best football team in the AFC going into the playoffs. And last year when they got hot, they stayed hot through the playoffs. I think they're even better than they were last year in a lot of ways. And then you have the Chiefs, man, who have reinvented themselves to the tune of even better passing numbers quietly. But I just don't think top to bottom they're a really special team. They have a very special quarterback who's probably the MVP in my book. But they have to find different ways to win. And that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. That AFC championship thing is going to be weird if it goes to a neutral site. That's one thing you got to keep an eye on. Yeah. I think the best team in the AFC is the Bengals. You can never count the Bills out. A sleeper for me is Jacksonville. Jacksonville has played everybody tough as of late. They played the Chiefs tough. They beat the dog shit out of the Chargers the first time they played them. Now games are way different 100 days in between each other. I remember in 2018 we got beat like 44-7 by the Saints, and then we played them in the playoffs and almost beat them. So things can change, but I would keep an eye on the Jags as well because Trevor Lawrence is playing great football.
Sunshine. Yeah. He's got that long flow. Sunshine.
It's nice to have the 4 quarterbacks in there, right? Like 4
quarterback studs. League, baby.
It's a quarterback.
$50 million a year you get out there to fucking sling it. $50 million a year.
You got Herbert out there. Herbert out there too. I mean, Herbert's playing in his first playoff game. That's going to be exciting. Yeah. That defense is rounded into form now. There were some questionable decisions made depending on who you talked to last week. Brandon Staley playing dudes that maybe shouldn't have played as long as they did. And Mike Williams got hurt. I was
wondering that too, by the way. I'm like, what is this guy doing here?
I think you got to get him out sooner. I'm fine with getting guys reps because, there is data that suggests that if you rest your guys going into the playoffs, your chances of winning that next football game are actually lower. So it's a bit of a dance. But I think, keeping them in there that long and now on a short week flying all the way to Jacksonville, that's tough for the Chargers.
Yeah, sticking with the FC. The Updog's going to touch on the FC next, but I love that you said the Bengals, bro. I got the Bengals this morning longer at plus 750 on the old DraftKings. I like Joe. I like Joe Cool. Listen, you were a great pass rusher. I love what Joe Burrow said, bro. I love that he's like, listen, my window is anytime I'm out there. But if Chris Long is still playing and you see that, is that a little Bilderborn material for you where you're like going to get a little harder on the edge against him, or is that just Joe Burrow being Joe Burrow?
I think it's Joe Burrow being Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow is one of the most likable guys in the NFL, and I think probably all his opponents really respect the hell out of him and probably secretly wish, depending on the team that they're on, that they had a Joe Burrow because he is such a dog. I mean, and that's what makes him I don't know, exciting is like, and another thing about the Brady thing is he's kind of got the ice water running through his veins. He's really good in conversion situations. They can just move the ball down the field. Another thing is with Burrow, the Pirine stepped up big with Mixon out. So they when they get him in there, they can run the ball a little bit differently and protect at the running back position and pass pro better than they can with Joe Mixon in there. So like, they really do have a nice setup, and Joe Burrow's confident, and I think he's just the right amount of confident. From where I sit, he's like he pushes the envelope of cocky, but he's not. He just believes in himself. He believes in his teammates. I would love to be playing the Bengals because they're down a tackle, and I figure I can get after either one. And Joe's, although I said he moves well in the pocket, he's not like Lamar Jackson, so that'd be fun.
Yeah, so you got to miss chasing guys down this time of year, though. Longer, it's like this time of year things start to heat up, and you're like, "I'm coming, buddy."
This is when it's easy. It's just like I don't know if you guys felt this for us because you were playing hockey inside, so it always feels the same. But I know that the gravity of when it starts, the springtime comes along and it's getting closer, and the cup's coming, and just the atmosphere. And for a pass rusher, especially playing at home or on the road, I don't know what's a better feeling, sacking somebody in a huge situation and your home crowd going absolutely ape shit, or I actually like this better, sacking somebody on the road in a big game and the stadium goes dead quiet and the only thing you can hear in the stadium is you and your dudes celebrating. And making plays like that in December and into January, they're just easy. When you've been in the league long enough, you just know that, like, you kind of get an idea of the time to make a play. And that's what's fun, is trying to sync up your best rush. You can't control some things as a rusher. You can't control how quick the ball is going to be out. Are they going to slide to you? You're going to double team you. You're going to get chipped. But what you can control is the intensity that you play with, and knowing in those moments that, like, hey, if I can kick it up a little notch here or bring that wrinkle out that I've been waiting on for 47 minutes. There's, fourth quarter is just about to start. Could be 58 minutes. Could be a 2-minute drill. I haven't spun on this guy yet. I haven't done this move. And it's just trying to find that moment that you can own and have a really big rush. And for most of my career, I never got to do that because I was on shitty teams. So it was fun when I was older to try to play clutch.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to talk about my Eagles team.
He loves the birds.
I mean, arguably they could have been 17-0. I mean, there was talk about it. That Commanders, that Monday night game against the Commanders cost me some bucks.
I was on the right side of that one. About the only time I was.
Yeah.
But we got hometown playoff football in Philly, which is going to be great. Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, I mean, those guys stepped up this year, probably the best duo receivers in the league. Are they the team to beat right now in the NFC? Do you think they're, with the home field advantage and Jalen Hurts hopefully healthy, you think they got what it takes now to go?
I do think they're the team to beat. There's some concerns for me. Number one, like, what does Jalen look like when they open this thing back up in a couple weeks here? I mean, he was out for a while. Then he played against the Giants. They didn't really open the offense up. He didn't have to take a lot of chances. They didn't really run him a lot. He did look sharp for most of the game, a couple inconsistencies, but that was why they played him damn near the whole game, because you have to establish a rhythm, especially having another week off now. But you play for that. You covet that break. So any rust that comes with it, you try to combat that through preparation or sliding him in week 18. I think my biggest concern with the Eagles is the right tackle situation. Lane Johnson. I don't know if you guys met Lane at Bonnaroo. I don't know if you were there the year that I brought Big Lane up, but he's a good buddy of mine. He's one of the best.
He's a monster.
He's one of the best in the game, period. Like, over the last decade, there are very few people that have been as dominant as him at his position, especially at tackle. And, they've got a backup in there right now in Driscoll. The offense looks a little bit different without him in the run game and in the pass game. So, you might have to consider chipping out more. You might have to consider changing your protections. That can affect the quick game. That can affect the rhythm of the offense. But I love their tight end in Dallas Goedert. You mentioned A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Those two guys are a really dynamic duo. The team I'm worried about with the Eagles is the San Francisco 49ers. I think it's a really tough matchup. Last year, early in the season, those two teams played each other in Philly, and it was like a bloodbath. It was just so physical. And I would expect it to be much the same. With the Eagles, I also have concerns on the defensive side of the football. C.J. Gardner-Johnson's coming back, but they've had problems at safety. They have given up some chunks late in the season. The pass rush is really good. I think that Niners and Eagles game that it's going to take place in Philly would be just an absolute slugfest.
Yeah, I would be looking forward to that one. I got to ask you longer. How the fuck did the Eagles get AJ Brown? Like, what was Tennessee's GM doing? Like Tennessee was good. I had Tennessee last year to go to the dance. Tannehill throws 5 picks. I almost ripped my TV off the wall. But anyways, They trade AJ Brown. Why longer? Why? Dude, like, why?
I don't know. I mean, like sometimes these GMs just get like they decide that they're not going to do something and they just stick to their guns and that sort of thing, and then you end up going out and paying Robert Woods and suffering through the season, and they draft Burke from Arkansas, who's been solid, but nobody's going to replace AJ Brown. I think sometimes as a GM, and he came from New England, I believe, you get used to doing this dance where you're just like, we have our way of doing things and we're not going to stray from this plan, or we don't pay certain players. But that only works in New England in the Tom Brady era. Like, you have to pay your best players. And I mean, they got torched spectacularly by AJ Brown when they came to Philly, and that had to just twist the knife a little bit. And now they're down a GM. They just fired their offensive coordinator. Also at the same time as losing AJ Brown, you're dealing with losing your kind of whiz OC, who's down in Atlanta now as the head coach. So there's a lot that's been going on with that window. That window seemed like it's been open for a while for the Titans. A lot of it hinges on the health and the age of Derrick Henry, who hasn't slowed down much, but it wasn't the same year for him as in years past. I kind of wonder where they're going to be next year. Tannehill, I think they can save $18 million releasing him. Where do you want to go in the future?
I just love Vrabel too. Like, I don't know, Vrabel. I think
Vrabel.
Did you play against him? No, you're probably too young to play against him, right? But I love that guy. He competes before the game. He's got the fucking thing on with the offensive lineman. I'm like, this guy deserves his AJ Brown. Come on, man.
Well, he could use an AJ Brown, because what they do so well, if you watch the game Saturday night, like, they're running out Josh Dobbs to play Jags. I mean, I saw them. The Liberty kid had to start earlier this season.
Miles, right? Is that his name, Miles?
What is
that his
name?
name?
Malik Willis.
My bad.
So Malik Willis. I couldn't remember for a second. My brain is fried. So, so they were playing Kansas City at Kansas City, and Malik Willis had to start. And you're just like, the line is like 13 or something. It's like a big double-digit line. This week it's a touchdown. They just do such a good job of muddying things up and finding ways to win. And Vrabel is so resourceful, and he's so good at making a street fight. And that can be really valuable to a team. But then you need that ceiling raiser type player, like an AJ Brown, when you got to outscore people, or you have to score 30 points a game, or you need a 3rd and 14. You're not always going to be ahead of the sticks, and losing him really hurts.
Yeah. Longer. We're gonna put you on. We're gonna put you on the spot a little bit. You said at the start of the year you had the Bills and Niners. We're a gambling podcast a little bit here. Are you sticking with the Bills and Niners? Do you want to pick a Super Bowl winner, or just want to give us the Super Bowl final?
I'll give you an alternate matchup. Cincy, San Francisco seems like it could be relatively likely. I'm certainly not rooting against the Eagles. I'll probably bet on the Eagles, knowing myself. But if I wanted to give you a zag coming off my initial prediction, I could give you I could give you because Brock Purdy would have to win like 9 straight games going into that.
I know.
It's just, the kid's bound to have a bad game, which is the one thing about it. Like, if you look at his numbers and Jimmy G's numbers, they're not that much different. In fact, Jimmy G in a lot of areas was better. But the team is playing so well right now. They added Christian McCaffrey. He's been a big part of that thing. If the Bengals played the Niners, what a game that would be.
Yeah.
But Eagles Bengals would be great too. Yeah. I'll stick to that. I think the Bengals come out.
Love it. I'm in the mix, Peter. I got a dog in the fight.
Are you going right away to the Super Bowl? Are you betting on that right now? Well, you did.
Plus 750, huh?
Yeah. Plus 750. Nice. Joe Burrow smoking cigars with his sick hair. I don't know what he puts in that.
He did this in the World Cup too. Longer. He took Argentina like midway through, and what was that at? Plus
650. I got Messi and the boys. Yeah.
Was that big?
plus 650. I got him at the round of 16, and I rode him the whole way. It got me out of my hockey hole, but I'm now back in.
Isn't that funny? Like we played, and we can't necessarily always gamble well on the sports we play because, like, being a player clouds your judgment sometimes.
Dude, it's so true, man. So last week I took Sabres, Phillies, Sabres, Flyers. Flyers playing back-to-back. One of the worst teams in the league. Sabres won 6 straight. I'm thinking, man, this is right. If I just play back-to-back on a bad team going into Buff, we're in one. 4-0 Flyers. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Right. Just humbling, bro. And I kind of wonder if you guys have one piece of advice on betting hockey, what is it?
Well, schedule
and goaltending. Yeah. Obviously, got to check the goaltending right away. I think for me, that's a big one. Like a lot of nights I forget to, and I flip it on, the backup's playing or whatever. So goaltending,
riding a hot
travel.
Team longer. It's just a crapshoot. There's 82 games.
Yeah.
I mean, in hockey, I mean, if you have we always say like guys are still using sticks. Like they have the same fucking stick. So it can have any night can be anyone's game.
Guys could be at the Ripper joint too late.
Well, that's some of these guys should be there a little bit longer. And I'm like, get to the fucking Rippers here. So you're playing guilty. So if you lose 7-1, you feel bad getting on the bus and playing like, fuck, I got to play better. Sorry, boys. I was at the Spearmint Rhino until fucking 4.
Curfew, yeah. Let's go.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, I'm looking for back-to-backs.
I will say this, brother. Moving forward, the Avalanche are about a month away from getting healthy. Landeskog and the boys are coming back. I would say in a month, I'll remind you, with this Avalanche team getting healthy, they're going to go on a run. I believe it in my heart. So that might be a team
to buy a future. Avalanche future.
And
then let me tell you something else. There's a kid called Connor Bedard. He's the next prodigy to McDavid, to what Crosby was.
Yeah.
There's going to be 4 or 5 teams in the hunt for him come down the stretch that are going to be just playing all their minor league guys. I mean, their coaches are
tank for Bedard.
The coaches are going to come into the room and just be like, guys, I don't even know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Just go lose this one.
They might be bringing me an Upshall into play.
Will they be honest about that?
To the extent that they're allowed, before maybe the commissioner comes in and goes, guys, you might want to play some of these guys. You can't sit them all.
Well, it's funny Uppy brings this up because there's some chatter right now about that because this guy's a franchise player and they're talking about as soon as, I don't know if it's after the trade deadline, the bad teams, whoever gets the most points from the deadline on gets the first pick. So if you're the Anaheim Ducks from the deadline on, if you're the best record, you get the first pick. And it's trying to like stop teams from what Updog's saying.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if it's ever going to happen, but
I could get that Avs feature in.
Get that.
Hey, Longer, now that you're in the business of, podding, and we talked about this before, your thoughts on what Amazon did this year with Thursday night, like chill, laid back. You had the boys wearing whatever they wanted. We had TNT do that the last couple of years. TNT jumped in, ESPN jumped into hockey. They made hockey kind of what we would call cool again, right? Like just try to get the best personalities on TV. It's what people want to watch. What were your thoughts of what Amazon did, and do you think they killed it, or was it something
I think that crew did a good job. That pregame, halftime crew. The people calling the games were tough. So those I don't envy. Was it Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit having to do that? And golly, how about Kirk Herbstreit's schedule? That guy doesn't rest or sleep, but and Al's old. He's like, fuck, why do I have to watch a 9-6 game? It's midnight. I'm in the booth for this. But the people like Carissa and Andrew and Richard and Tony and Ryan, they did a great job. And I liked how dressed down it was, how conversational it was. I mean, I always think there's going to be a place for your kind of traditional pre and halftime shows, and in a sense that was outside of the wardrobe and maybe some of the free flowing conversations, but everything's kind of trending more towards open dialogue. I think people really like that kind of fly on the wall vantage point of watching people just have a conversation, and that's ultimately what. Whether it's my dad's show, which is more produced and they're pre-taping and all that stuff, and it's a real pregame show and a halftime show, but they're at their best when people are just like almost off script, letting it fly. So I think no matter what, as long as that's going on, I think everybody's happy. And with Amazon, like the tough part is they promised, these crazy ratings for these games, and they fell well short. But part of that's on the league because the Thursday night slate was so bad. I mean, we really didn't get a great primetime game that everybody was psyched about, ironically, until the Hamlin injury.
Yeah.
Longer, like as a player, as a fan, I mean, the games weren't great this year, you're right, but I always like a little Thursday night football, right? I mean, I'm watching hockey, I'll throw the football game on. As a player, I've never been hit by a football player. I don't know what it feels like. I don't know how you guys feel after one game a week. I know how I feel after game 52, but like, is the Thursday night game that painful for you guys to play in?
You know, they all hurt. I mean, Thursday's tough. Thursday's tough because you don't know that you're about to tear your hamstring or something. Like, you know, that can be a ticking time bomb. There can be things that you feel going in a game, and you know you're like, I gotta patch myself together in basically 3 days here. But you know, it's the injuries that are just the wear and tear and the fatigue and the attrition that pop up and can be very major. I mean, it could be even a joint injury. It could be an ACL because like something else isn't working because it's Thursday and it should, you know, your body's used to waiting till Sunday. I'll tell you this, like late in my career, especially late, but I mean, even early in the career, like I wasn't feeling good till Saturday, you know, like Saturday afternoon from the last game and the practice all week. Like I know you guys, depending on who your coach is, like you might have to go, what do you call it, bag skating or like
skating.
Yeah, like do all this bullshit before games and like you know, you guys play a lot more games, so it's different, the preparation between games physically, but for us during the week, you know, they keep working us, you know, like Wednesday practice, especially early in the season, is a bitch. Like we got the pads on and everything, and guys are just like on a Monday, the first thing I do is I was in a chair for acupuncture, for massage, for ART, and that didn't stop until really Tuesday night. And then I got to go into work on Wednesday. So like all I was doing all week was like, it was like these tiny incremental gains and kind of feeling good enough if I had like a health bar. And then by Saturday night, it's like my health is like from orange into the green. And then you just tear it all down again as soon as you feel good enough. And obviously I needed 2 shots of Toradol and all that shit every Sunday just to feel good.
Good stuff.
Now imagine Thursday. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, it's just so I kind of understand from the perspective of being a player that like this isn't safe. I also understand from a fan perspective, football is awesome and you want it all week, even if it sucks on Thursday night. It's fun to turn on and gamble and that sort of thing, but it is a tough deal.
No, and you know what? I get that from the Hard Knocks in season. I've noticed how hard you guys do practice as the week goes on. But maybe this is my problem. I look at the Thursday nighter. I'm like, fuck up, dog. We win this Thursday night. We don't play till next Sunday. Where are we going? All right. Longer, fire up the bird. Let's go to Miami or something, right?
Well, the coaches will fuck with you because they'll be like, you got to come in Friday and like, and then, you know, some of them will like mess with the schedule so you can't get somewhere. But I used to always try to go somewhere if I could, especially when I was younger. After those Thursday night games, so you guys would definitely enjoy the Thursday night.
St. Louis to Vegas trip.
Yeah, something anywhere.
Hey, Longer, I want to ask you about. Speaking of getting after it, Aaron Rodgers here. The old ayahuasca boy, right? He seemed to find some answers there. Which, hey, listen, nothing wrong with that. I actually want to do it
nothing
myself.
wrong with that. I'd like to do it.
I want to do it myself. Maybe we'll do it at Bonnaroo.
We'll do it together.
Yeah.
You and me sweating in a hut.
Yeah. Man, there'll be lots of sweating going on. I'll tell you that, brother. When you saw him walk off the field on Sunday night, I don't know. He had his boy,
Randall Cobb. Yeah.
Is he done with Green Bay? Is he done forever? I don't know. As a player, what do you think, ex-player?
Well, listen, Aaron Rodgers is a great player, and there'll be a number of teams that'll want, you know, to mortgage the future to have a shot at him for the next 2-3 years or whatever it would be this offseason. Some of those teams have been mentioned as being, you know, Vegas, the Jets, the Indy's looking for a quarterback. Not that I think that would be a good destination for him. You know, there's people even talking about Seattle because of the assets they have and that sort of thing. Like, I like chaos as a fan, so I hope that he's on the move because I'd love to see some crazy shit. I also am tired of the saga.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. Like,
Me too.
if you're asking me, like, you know, I'm a big Aaron Rodgers fan. The football player is awesome. I just, you know, every offseason, it's like, I don't want to be here. I don't have enough weapons. You guys haven't done this. You haven't done that for me. But then he goes back and plays. And, you know, like this year, you had some young receivers They didn't do a lot in the offseason with him. He was doing whatever he was doing. And then, there's this growth and maturation process through the season that by the time they're clicking, it's kind of too late. And if I look at Green Bay the last couple of years, they've been so tantalizingly close. And a lot of the reason that they're so viable as a contender is him. But in their last 2 elimination games at Lambeau, they've lost to they lost to Brady a couple of years ago. And the defense wasn't great, but they've lost to Jimmy G and Jared Goff in low-scoring games. And so, I kind of feel like what more is there to do here?
Yeah.
I feel like we've seen this movie. So I'd love to see him on the move for 2 reasons. Number one, for the chaos of it, for the storylines. I'd love to see the Jets inherit a Hall of Fame quarterback with that defensive core. Like, for instance, it'd be interesting, it'd be fun. But for the other reasons, like, I'm just so tired of all offseason talking about, is Aaron Rodgers coming back? And, it started the other night. It actually started before the game because they asked him, like, do you want to come back? And he's like, oh, I'm not really, no idea what the future holds. Like, you can manifest this stuff.
Yeah, you are signed there.
Yeah, you're going to make 50 bananas next year.
Yeah, 59.
Yeah. But maybe he's played this perfectly longer where he does get that max deal.
Yep.
And I don't know. Have you had buddies play in Green Bay? To me, that's like having to play in Winnipeg your whole career.
Winnipeg.
I don't want to be
Without
a Hall
the
of Fame.
Earls,
I don't want to be a Hall of Fame guy playing in Winnipeg for 15
Wait, there's
years.
girls in Winnipeg? You said girls?
There's this place called Earls. They call them Earls Girls in
Earls.
Winnipeg. Yeah, Earls.
Yeah. There's this like staple restaurant. They all, wear great clothes and they bring you wings and beer.
Okay, there's probably something like that in Appleton or Green Bay, but no, I don't think about like Green Bay as being a magnet. And you already lost the best wide receiver in football.
I agree.
Because he weren't sure if you were coming back. And so I don't know what they add. And the young receivers are really potentially special, and Watson and Dobbs, but you got to work with these guys, and I don't know.
Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I want to get out of there.
I'm just going to Miami.
I want to go to fuck it. If Tua can't come back, I'm going to Miami. Or if they just basically Cars or the fuck I can't think.
Las Vegas.
Vegas, Washington. There's going to be a lot of options this year. There's a lot of teams that aren't in a spot to pick a transcendent quarterback, and I don't think that I don't think there's any sure thing in the draft with quarterbacks this year. I think you got to go next year to look at Caleb Williams, the USC kid. I've talked about it a lot. Like, that kid seems like a sure thing. The kid at Bama seems like a sure thing, but he's kind of slight. You worry about his size and all that stuff. Stroud, and then you got the next one's like Levis, the Kentucky kid. I don't know. So there's a lot of teams that are going to be in this kind of free agent window that's like, hey, we're a player away.
Plus, I want to see Love spin it in Green Bay a little bit. He came in that one game, and he looks like he's ready to spin it. He sat there long enough. Let's turn the keys over to him.
Might as well, man. You don't have to pay anything to have him take snaps under center. He's already under contract.
Longer, I want to ask you about a head coach. I watched Hard Knocks at the start of the year, as I always do. Dan Campbell, this fucking guy. I don't know. I don't know if he makes you want to get in the weight room again, but he made me want to eat a salad. I'm like, I should eat a second salad here. This fucking guy, man. How can you not love him? I mean,
he's hard not to love, man. He just wears his heart on his sleeve, and I think one of the most important pillars of leadership is authenticity, and it's being who you are. How do you expect somebody to believe you if you're putting on a front?
Yeah.
He ain't putting on a front. He is who he is. He was a player. He's also, and he plays this down like a really smart cat. Like, he's kind of an aw shucks guy, football guy, prototypical, football guy, but he is really bright. Played under Sean Payton, coached under Sean Payton, has coached different he's coached different players on different sides of the ball. He's been special teams, that sort of thing. He played tight end. And he seems like a very good delegator. Like, it's not about him. It's about having the best coaches. They made a really tough decision in the middle of the season to fire Aubrey Pleasant, their defensive backs coach, and their defense improved greatly. And, he's hired former players, which I think is awesome. And he takes chances. You saw him the other night, whether it was a hook and lateral on 2nd and 17, whether it's going for it on 4th and 2 at 16-13, whether it's quick snapping and going for it on 4th and 2 to seal the game, whether it's a flea flicker that gets called back, bringing the house on 3rd and 10 on Aaron Rodgers, forcing the interception. Every turn in the game, they're trying to win the game, which is not something that every coach does. And I think that attitude eventually kind of you get that instilled in your players. And I think they got to be one of the most exciting teams to look at going into 2023. They definitely are one of the best 8 to 10 teams in the NFL, in my opinion. It's just unfortunate the way it all went down with the playoffs.
Yeah, they're fun to cheer for. I thought his fucking nose was going to fall off at Lambeau.
It was so red.
By the end of the game, I'm like, fella, grab a Kleenex or something.
Yeah, the guy. Yeah, but he's tough. He's tough. He didn't even feel it.
Big chewing. He just had a hat on, with a T-shirt, I think.
While we're on just the coaching train, did you hear the clip that came out last night of the pregame speech from the George?
So I don't know if that's the speech from before LSU. I saw somebody saying that, but maybe it wasn't. All I know is Kirby Smart is like a fucking monster inside.
Yeah.
and that's pretty benign. I'm not saying, but that's real emotion. Yeah. That's what a lot of NFL coaches talk like before a game, and the real ones can get you fired up in, 90 seconds. That's how long that clip was or whatever it was. Sometimes you don't have to say much at all. Jeff Fisher used to take – I remember one time Jeff Fisher's pregame speech was like 9 seconds. It was really fucking cool. And it's just like it's also we're all huddled in this locker room. We've been here 90 hours this week trying to get ready for this game. Like, what else can you say? So just let your emotions go. And I think Kirby Smart, when you watch him on the sideline and you see their staff and the way they coach, they are just so aggressive. Somebody before the game asked, like, what's your goal this game? And he was like, aggression.
Yeah. We're gonna hunt.
Fuck TCU, dude.
I was hunting frogs. TCU.
Yeah.
You're so right about enough being said though. Throughout my playing career with the coaches and players, I'm like, boys, enough said here. There's no more talking. Let's fucking go. Let's puck drop. Give your balls a tug. We've said it all. We've said all the right things. It's great. Let's go do it.
I love the hockey talk. You guys got so many slang words and phrases. Give your balls a tug.
Right. Give your balls a tug.
Some Canadian shit.
Longer, buddy. We love you. Last, I want to finish. You're a beauty, buddy. I hope Bonnaroo works out. I missed that smile.
We're going.
Yeah, we're going. The fucking rights we're going.
Fantasy football. My brother here. I lost 2,500. Longer.
I made a couple big moves. One was with him this year.
I'm aggressive GM, bro. I think it hurts me. Talk to me about fantasy football. Is it luck? Do I suck? Do you play? Can you help me next year?
I do play. I'm not great at it. In that, every week I have to check something. I pretty much make a decision by the beginning of I'm in it to win the money and avoid the penalty. If I can do both, great. Last year, won the league, won some money. That was cool. But really, the joy is seeing who gets penalized. I don't know if you guys have a penalty in your fantasy football league this year.
What is that?
So, 1 year, the penalty for our group was it's like a group chat of 12 dudes in my hometown. The penalty was we get to put you on a billboard outside town that's one of those, the ambulance chaser billboards, the guys that make money off the accidents. And it's we grabbed a picture of the loser in a suit and we put him on the billboard and said, hey, for fantasy football advice, don't call Michael Lewis, 1-800-LOSE-LOSE. And so he was up there for 3-4 months. Then another guy had to get dyed tips 1 year. This year, fortunately for me, because I did come in last, it was apparent we didn't have a great squad, so I stopped checking the thing. We weren't able to come to a consensus on the punishment, so I kind of skated there. But yeah, I would suggest enacting some punishments for your league.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I finished second last, so I would dodge the bullet of being on the. It have to be a big billboard.
Then then the games down the stretch really mean something.
They really do mean something when you're at the bottom.
But Longer, you know what rattles me is injuries, bro. I made a blockbuster 10-player trade, and I got Deeboy Samuel, Mike Williams. They both get hurt. They're if your team's banged up and you're depending on the waiver wire, you got issues.
There's nothing you can do at that point. It's hard to get out of those jams. It really is.
I put myself in a couple of jams. I couldn't get out of them. I was just looking at my squad. I got no chance.
I'm happy you guys play though. That's fun.
Yeah.
We got a good squad. Yeah, and it's worth some cash too. So it makes you.
Congrats, Upper. You won.
Thank you.
Upper
I
Wow,
did, yeah.
you
Well,
water.
listen, it came down to the Sunday night fucking game or Monday night game with Hamlin. That kind of I was up some points. I had the kicker for Buffalo. Joe Burrow and Knox were on the other side.
Yeah.
right?
Oh man.
Yeah.
And
Well, Knox is a tight end for
oh no, so Diggs. So he had Diggs and Joe
yeah.
Burrow.
Oh boy.
And when they called the game, I ended up being 20 points up. So we ended up splitting it. But me and my boy Andy Mack, we split the whole thing.
I
but
think
now
that was the equitable way to do it across America, because I think a lot of people ended up in that spot.
Yeah.
I thought we should have got our money back longer, but that's for a different time. Hey, Longer, Green Light Podcast, check him out. Longer, you're a legend, you're a beauty. Bonnaroo, let's do it. Thank you for taking the time, brother. Enjoy the playoffs. This is awesome for the NFL.
I'll see y'all in June, man. Good to see y'all boys.
Welcome back to Missin Curfew. Man, up dog Longer. What a smile, eh?
Yeah,
I want to get back to the farm with him.
where is he? He's in Virginia, right?
He went to Virginia, played ball at Virginia, back in Virginia. Green Light Podcast, great podcast. I listened to it. Just a cool guy sitting back. I was jealous how comfortable he looked.
By the way, he's got a nice shack by the looks of his
bet.
Instagram with the kiddos there. You know, I think the latest post, he walks through his living room with his boys and he jumps on the couch. And I'm like, that's a National League pad he's got there.
I'll tell you what, the square foot's a little less expensive than California. I can guarantee you
Sure
that. In the
is.
great state of Virginia, huh? Maybe I'll move to Virginia Longer. But great talking to him. So knowledgeable about the sport, right?
Yeah.
Like just listen to him talk about the ins and out of the sport. He knows what he's talking about. His 2 Super Bowl trophies sitting behind him. Absolute legend. So thanks to Longer. And that Bonnaroo lineup, buddy, it's got my ears perked up.
I think I might change that to my background on my screen just to get excited for the next couple months.
My morning jacket into Odessa. Maxi Binger, fire up the camera and watch the content of this fucking beauty here if that does happen. So thanks to Chris Longer. To our listeners, we try to add a little bit of more of an element than just hockey. Football playoffs are here. Why not bring him on? So thanks to him, Up Dog. That was great. Thank you, fella. That was Missin Curfew.